From the center of the universe, Toronto, Ontario, Canada, this is the SDM Show with your host, Rob Cairns. The SDM Show focuses on business, life, productivity, digital marketing, WordPress, and more. Sit back, relax, grab your favorite drink, and enjoy the show. Here is Rob.
Hey, everybody. Rob Cairns here. I'm the founder, CEO, and chief creator of Amazing Ideas at Stunning Digital Marketing. In today's podcast, I sit down with Andrew Palmer, and we talk about the Atraim Web Agency Summit that's coming up at the end of April. So grab a drink, sit back, and relax, and enjoy the conversation that Andrew and I had about the summit.
This episode of the SDM Show is sponsored by Stunning Digital Marketing, the agency to handle all your WordPress website security needs. Go on over to stunningdigitalmarketing.com and find out how we can help you secure your website so you no longer have an issue with backups, being hacked, or your website being compromised. That's stunningdigitalmarketing.com. Hey everybody, Rob Cairns here. And today I have a special guest, Andrew Palmer, and we're going to talk about the Atraim Web Agency Summit. How are you today, Andrew?
I'm very good, Rob, and thanks for having me on your show. I'm very grateful. I've just finished on the golf course, so I'm a little bit golf weary. So if I mumble a bit, just give me a shout.
Yeah, and you're, just for interest's sake, while you mentioned golf, your Twitter name is Arnie Palmer, is it not, in honor of the legendary Arnold Palmer?
It is kind of in honor of that, but because my name is A. Palmer, my fellow members at my golf club just call me Arnie. They always have called me Arnie, so it seemed quite obvious that my Twitter name would be @Arnie Palmer, and it wasn't taken. I mean, I was quite surprised it wasn't taken, but now the king is dead. Long live the king.
Yes, so true. We were talking a little bit before we went to record about some of the things you're working on and some of the really cool things outside of the summit you're working on. Do you want to share with the listeners your WordPress origin story and how you got into WordPress and how that came about?
Well, I got involved in WordPress because Joomla let me down. I don't know whether you remember a few years ago, Joomla 1 point whatever it was managed to get hacked, and I had about 100 sites on Joomla, and it nearly bankrupted me. And I thought, I'm not going to go through that again.
Yep. And
a very good friend of mine, Mark Copeman, who I haven't seen for a while, but he's a very, very good friend, and he was a client, said, you really must get into WordPress. So I tore my hair out for a while because I found Joomla very intuitive at the time, and converted all the websites or rebuilt them in WordPress. But I drove him mad I suppose it was about 10, 12 years ago, maybe just 3 years after WordPress had been launched, I suppose, 3 or 4. And I've never looked back, and I'm forever grateful to him for pointing me in the WordPress direction. And then I just never really looked back. Building WordPress websites has got easier and easier. We have Gutenberg with Cadence blocks, and Cadence theme is great. And, even Astra do some great Gutenberg layouts. So, we've always got a starting platform. And with the page builders, I'm a Divi guy, as most people know. I love Divi. It's got a fantastic offer of, lifetime. And now, we've grown our business to 500 websites that we host, and we look after about 200 websites on white label. So that's my origin story. It's quite normal. I just got into WordPress, managed to monetize it, which is what I'm all about. I think if you're in business, you shouldn't deny that you're in business to make a profit, and that's what we do. We kind of try and make a profit, and then give products and try and give back to the community whenever we can.
And the community, WordPress has a really, what I'd consider, strong and vibrant community that generally as a whole, we have some issues, but I think it's generally pretty supportive.
Oh, it's very supportive. If you join any Slack channel or Facebook group generally, and ask that stupid question of how do I set the index page in WordPress, most people will react nicely and say, well, you just go here and do that. And from a particular business perspective, the Facebook groups are really popular, like Focus WP. They focus on the business of running your WordPress business, which is great. And the WordPress hosting group, obviously, that we're members of, and I know that you set up a LinkedIn WordPress group as well, which is growing and well moderated. So
thank you. Whatever
community you're in or whatever you're doing within WordPress, you will find like-minded people, which I like. I mean, the Twitter is generally filled with people, devs and freelancers. Mm-hmm. Like all of us, we could do without clients, frankly. But, most of my clients are very affable, and they even invite me to play golf on a Wednesday, which is great. So, yeah, it's a great community. Clients are getting more and more aware of the benefits of WordPress as well, rather than proprietary systems like Wix or Squarespace. And that's why we remain in work, because people are seeing the benefits of really enterprise WordPress, which is where it's at, isn't it? That's what we do.
I think enterprise WordPress is actually the future if we want to expand the market share. I was having a discussion with Chris Wigman over at WP Engine earlier last week, and Chris and I were talking exactly about this, the whole enterprise connotation, and I truly think that's where the growth is, personally.
I do, and I think that's why we've got the hosting companies buying up plugins and buying up, things like LearnDash and other big names in the plugin business, because they know that they have to offer an all-in-one service to enterprise customers and say, right, okay, you've got, even if you want internal training, look at that. We've got LearnDash, boom, and we can install that automatically for you, and we can tell you which tier to have. And we can also help you set it up. There's a lot of criticism, I think, about a particularly large host that just bought Yoast. But they have, as do all hosting companies, Bluehost and InMotion, they have their own website building agency, if you like. Mm-hmm. And I think we're going to see more and more hosts offering web design as part of their service. And that really will increase the stickiness and the profitability of each of their customers.
Yeah, and that same host just jumped in and bought Yith in the last 10 days, which is a plugin company that has a multitude of WooCommerce plugins. So they've just become a player in the WooCommerce game in a big way, actually. They
have, and actually Ronald Giselle, who was the community manager for Yith, he's now gone over to WooCommerce. So, it's a bit incestuous, the WordPress business area, but, I think that we have to just embrace what's happening in WordPress, like the backlash about Gutenberg when it first came out, because we don't like change. Nobody likes change. I was talking to a restaurant owner today about the staff complaining that he was taking fish cakes off the menu for the summer, because they don't like change, and they know that they'll have to deal with that with customers saying, "Well, the fish cake's gone." So I compare Gutenberg to fish cakes. Really, you either love them or loathe them, or you either want them or you don't want them. So I think we've just got to embrace Gutenberg, and also it'll be Gutenberg. Like Matt says, it's not just for WordPress.
I agree.
It'll fit everywhere.
I agree. Before we get on the summit, since you mentioned in your origin story that you moved because of a security issue with Joomla or a hack or whatever we want to label it as, and I read from you a tweet, I guess it's 2 or 3 weeks ago, when the whole mess with Formulas came down. Mm-hmm. And I think you said something, you had some concerns over security disclosure policies. So,
I do with, sorry, finish your question. I know that it's WordFence related, and I don't know Mark, and I love what they're doing, and they're protecting a lot of websites out there. But I've said it a couple of times. I was on another podcast where I just think that, we have an ethical disclosure policy, really. Mm-hmm. It's not fixed in stone, and I get that. we have to give people a chance to fix their stuff before we announce it to the rest of the hackers in the world that there's a vulnerability, because we're talking about millions of websites. 255,000 WordPress websites get installed every single day. Mm-hmm. That's a lot of vulnerabilities out there. And WordPress, like any other system out there that is in the open web, we have to open our ports. So therefore, we're all open to hacking. AWS has been hacked in the past. Big websites like EasyJet in the UK were hacked. British Airways was hacked. So we have to have some ethical disclosure policies. And I think giving people 90 days to fix their plugin or fix the vulnerability is the right thing to do. Yep. And to announce a vulnerability before that situation is the wrong thing to do. And also scaremongering and the clickbaiting kind of headlines that are there.
Yeah.
But it's up to that business to be able to say, okay, well, we're going to do what we want, and we're a security business, and we're going to write a blog post because, one, we want to get some clickbait traffic. 2, we want to promote our business, and 3, we want to show that we care. And I think the we care bit is definitely the third one. So, as I say, I've never met the chap. I've heard him speak and I've seen him write his blog post. But I think that there is a situation now where we just have to get control of this and say, look, if you have got a vulnerable extension to any web service, and somebody tells you about it, you've got to be given an opportunity to fix it within a 90-day period. If you don't fix it, by all means, we'll expose you as not caring and having that vulnerability. But even WordPress, they did an emergency update on Updraft Plus. I think Updraft Plus had and I could be wrong, but Updraft Plus had quite a big vulnerability.
They forced it,
and WordPress forced the update. Mm-hmm. Is there a case for doing that? Or is there a case for saying, well, actually, it's on my hosting, it's my website. Do I want that forced? Do I want WordPress to have absolute access to my website so they can update it? It's a weird one,
I agree with you. It's hard, and I don't know what operating system you're running at home, but I worked in the Microsoft world doing support for 21 years, and I run Windows, and we all know Microsoft patches vulnerabilities every month.
Sure.
So
they do. You're going to get bugs. It's called the software business, Rob.
Yeah.
You're going to get bugs, and if you use a piece of software and expect it not to have bugs, then don't use software. Don't use Windows, don't use Macs. And all this myth about Macs are unhackable. Of course, they're hackable. Yep. Because you've got an open port out into the internet, and anyone can hack something, can reverse engineer something and come into you. Mm-hmm. I mean, I use AVG Pro. I have for years, and I love it. And it keeps my computer clean. It keeps it running fast, but it also, provides me with a really quite a robust firewall as well.
Yeah.
So, and if you're not running any kind of antivirus software or protection on your computer, then you shouldn't really be using a computer, right?
Yeah.
Same as you shouldn't be building websites if you don't put any kind of protection on them.
I would agree. And before we move on, the one thing I would add is, and I've kind of stressed this if you've watched my feeds in the last couple of months, is, folks, it's nice to be doing backups, but do you ever test them before you need them?
Yeah, I get it. Well, what we tend to do, because we're very lucky, we're busy, so we've got a little bit of cash flow going on, and we use premium services.
Yep.
I use BlogVault, and I will always adore Akshat from that. I've met him a good few times and he's helped me, and I've helped him with a few marketing tips. Mm-hmm. And I would say that we are warm acquaintances. We're friends. Yeah. So I use his service because I trust him. He got hacked a few years ago and got on it straight away. But use a premium service. Let's stop doing free backups, for God's sake, because they're just, you don't know whether or not they've actually backed up properly. Some of them make a backup on your server, and particularly if you're using a what I call a pseudo managed hosting provider, that your disks fill up very, very quickly with backups.
You do.
So always do an offsite backup. Always, just once a week, just turn that backup into a staging site and just make sure that works, just in case you've got to, restore a site. So yeah, backups are one of the most important things. But unfortunately, as human beings, we're quite lazy, aren't we? I mean, I'm inherently lazy, so I can't avoid doing anything that gives me too much effort. But backups are probably one of them. Well, the most important thing you can do for a website owner that's in your care.
Yeah, I would agree with you. So let's move on a little bit. The Atarim Summit. This is the second or third one? Refresh my memory.
Pretty sure it's the third one.
Yeah.
Vito. I think if you don't know Vito in the WordPress arena, you've been living under a rock for a while.
I would agree.
We met at the Agency Transformation Live that was done by Lee Jackson. His name, Lee Matthew Jackson. He now calls himself, which is great. And I haven't seen Lee for a while, but I know that he's a maverick for Cloudways, as a few other people are as well. But he put together this little 80-strong ATL thing a few years ago now, about 3 years ago, and I saw Vito scampering around in a coat that was the same coat as mine, but obviously about 3 sizes lighter. And I thought, well, he's got taste. He's wearing the same coat. And he showed me this app that he had on his phone. And I basically courted him and wouldn't let him out. I didn't let him out of my site for about 4 months. And I said, you've got to sell this on elegantmarketplace.com, which I founded with a few others. And he refused. He said, no, not having any of that. I want to sell it. I said, okay, well, if you want to sell it in a corner shop rather than a superstore, carry on. And we eventually came to an agreement, and we sold it on Elegant Marketplace, and it went very well, let's say. So from that, there was some trust built up, because obviously we held a lot of money in on his behalf. All the money went through Elegant Marketplace, and it helped him grow and build his team and everything. So there was loads of trust there, because obviously I owed him the money. It was my business, and obviously we paid him on time and the right amount. And then we got involved on a little online event thing, which went okay. We sold a few of those, but we had some technical issues, so we decided to park that for a while.
Yep.
And then he rang me in, I think, the beginning of September last year, and talked to me about Bertha AI. So we then launched Bertha AI at the end of September with the help of my dev team. And obviously, Atarim, he asked me to be a co-host with the lovely Stephanie Hudson, who runs the Focus WP Facebook group and also has focuswp.co, who do white label maintenance for agencies and freelancers, free them up a bit. So she offers a great service. And she's very experienced in the WordPress world and runs Divi Chat and all that kind of stuff. So it was great to be able to work with people that had experience in the web world. Vito's agency was very successful. He built it up from 0 to 12 people running it and a few $100,000 a year turnover. Stephanie's a very successful podcaster and runs Focus WP, and she also has Sweet Tea as well, or Get Sweet Tea, which is her agency. So, we kind of all gelled together and became, Steph and I were co-hosts on the first Atarim Summit that I was involved in, which was pretty successful. 5,000 plus visitors a day came in. And we just thought, we'll do it again, but we'll do more towards agencies rather than just WordPress. So that's why it's called the Web Agencies and WordPress Space. So it's a great summit for people to learn how to work, or learn how other people are working on their business. That old cliched phrase, working on their business rather than in their business. Gives them tips and tricks and training and resources. And the speaker list this year is absolutely outstanding. I mean, it's great, and we've got some really cool sponsors as well. Peach Pay, Accessiby, GoDaddy Pro, Weglot, who've just received 45 million euros, $50 million in investment. So it shows that they're, we're being involved or getting involved with companies that are growing and successful. Main WP, Groundhog, Adrian Toby from Groundhog is a real clever guy, and Nexus and Liquid Web. It goes on in motion hosting, Convisio, and of course Bertha, obviously.
Yes.
But there's, go to atarim.io/summit, and you can see all the sponsors and see all the speakers. And what I love about the featured experts, and we've gone for build, we've gone for expand. So build your business, expand your business, and then we've gone for scale. So then you can grow, really grow your business, scale it out. And then the final part is thrive, so you make your business thrive. And that's, and as I say, the speakers are just outstanding. I mean, we've got some well-known people in there. We've got actually a lovely Rosie Robinson, who I coached, or I still coach for the last couple of years. We've coached, and her growth has been absolutely phenomenal. And it's all down to her. There's been a shoulder for her to scream and shout at when it's going a little pear-shaped, or should I go in this direction? We've got Hans Skilrud, who's just a fantastic friend of mine, and I'm lucky enough to go to Chicago next week to go and stay with Hans and Donata at Termageddon as well. We've got Matt Militek.
Yep.
Amazing, successful, showing us how to grow our business with social media. I could go through all of them. We've got Dipti Budapti, and of course the ultimate man in the world of WordPress and Gutenberg and helping people build funnels. We've got Spencer Foreman as well. So it's a really exciting time to be in the WordPress and web agency arena, because Atarim, we're expecting thousands of people to attend daily. So it's a big event to run, and Vito does a great job of that. And we've got a team behind it. Stephanie Hudson and myself are part of that team, and we get to input into the speakers as well. One of my favorites was Noah, who is an expert in. I'm trying to remember what it is now. I forget what it is, but he's an expert in systemizing everything. So, one of the parts of the problems of running an agency and then growing and getting more customers and more staff, and you have to get processes and systems in. If you haven't already done that, it's Noah Britton. So he's going to basically give us a crash course on getting your sales processes dialed in by using, and he uses a particular system, and he's going to teach us all about that as well. So it's pretty cool. And of course I've got to mention one other person, Melissa Love, who is the queen of Divi child theme. She was the first person ever to make a child theme for Divi and sell it and sell them at a profit. But she's going to be talking about how to build unsleazy sales funnels. So she's probably one of my favorite people in all of the world.
No, that's awesome, and the list just keeps growing. I know
it's crazy. Yeah.
For those who don't know, I'll actually be doing a talk at the summit on growing your digital agency by podcasting. So there's another.
I see it. I didn't want to. I wanted to give you an opportunity to shout your own thing, but it's and that's it. The advantage of doing a podcast for this has helped you grow your business, right?
Yeah, of course. And it's funny. I wanted to share with you a quick story. You mentioned Adrian Toby. So a lot of people may or may not know that I actually took digital marketing courses through Adrian's dad, Paul. And I have Paul coming up on the podcast really soon. And Adrian and I just sat down and talked about Groundhog. And one of the things I shared in that conversation was I can remember when Adrian was developing Groundhog, and he would show me little screenshots of what he was working on. So I saw stuff before he had a name to it, and he'd show me little things and say, come look at this in the office and come look at that in the office. So he is a really bright person. He's local. He's originally from Toronto. He now lives in Niagara Falls, and he's pretty local. So, but the guest list is amazing. It's funny. I was looking earlier today at Spencer stock, and we all know Spencer Foreman in the WordPress space. Well known, and I love that Spencer is talking the future of WordPress for enterprise, because you and I were talking before. I think that's the way it's going.
Oh, I've got no doubt. I've got no doubt. And Spencer actually is I think Spencer is one of the most vocal about WordPress being an enterprise solution. Mm-hmm. And it's proven, look at WordPress VIP. I think your minimum hosting charge for WordPress VIP is about $15,000 a month. Mm-hmm. I could be wrong, but it's in the thousands, and it proves that people want their websites to be looked after by professionals. Look at Pagely. GoDaddy bought Pagely not so long ago, and I've always said, if you can't build it, buy it, because GoDaddy had, obviously they've got their own culture. Love them or loathe them. Lots of people loathe them for really the wrong reasons. I've touched wood. I've never had a problem with GoDaddy when a client has said, "Oh, I host with GoDaddy." I said, "No problem. I don't really mind. We deal with, the kitchen shop hosts, and we deal with the big hosts. It's not a problem. You just have to learn their systems, and as soon as you learn their systems, you can operate your services as a white label maintenance person quite well." But what Spencer is really talking about, WordPress Enterprise, is making sure that you only use the tools that are appropriate to your website. You don't need, I go into some WordPress websites and there's 70 or 80 plugins. And frankly, on Bertha.ai, we've got about 50 or something because we need them for sales processes and little bits of programming. And also people under really don't understand what lay people, let's say, don't understand what a plugin is. Yes, we could build that in as a function, not a problem. But actually, let's just save you some money and put a plugin, because that's all it is. It's just adding functions and extending WordPress to be more appropriate to your particular business. What I'm concerned about is e-commerce. We use Easy Digital Downloads and we do some WooCommerce work. WooCommerce, along with a lot of other page builders, say, "Oh, you don't need to be a coder," but you really do. You need to know a little bit about code if you really want to take advantage of all these plugins. And WooCommerce is free at source, but actually, if you want to do anything with WooCommerce, you've got to budget $1,800 a year, US dollars, to be able to have your funnels built correctly, your emails nicely branded. PDF invoices, for instance, is an extra, abandoned carts, all that kind of stuff. And so people then look at Shopify and say, well, that's got that all built in for $25 a month or whatever. But then if you start turning over more than a couple of grand a month with Shopify, they start charging you $75 a month. If you want POS, a point of sale solution for your bricks and mortar business, then you're talking $250 to $2,500 a month. So you have to, as WordPress people, we have to educate the people that we are serving to ensure that they're getting the best value for money out of what we're doing for them as service providers, and we charge them the right price for us so that we're there next week to be able to service them, and also the right price for the premium add-ons that we're recommending. So we try and cut those down. And Spencer is an advocate of saying, I want my iPhone plug to be the same plug as my Android plug, and I want everything to fit together nicely.
He sure is. There's no question.
Kind of just trying to make sure that whatever we use talks to each other nicely. They aren't using the same functions or hooks or anything like that. So there's conflicts, and that's what he's trying to do. And he will get there eventually. He's a very strong personality, so he will manage to persuade certainly his audience that his way is the best way. And I wish him the best of luck with that, because I love what he's doing.
I do too, and I actually find him one of the most helpful people out there too. When you reach out to him and say, I need some advice, I need a hand, can you point me in a direction? He's always willing to do that for the community.
Yeah, and he answers his phone. He's very much like me. We had a phone call the other day. We'd finished a podcast, and I rang him afterwards to keep the discussion going, because there was some quite important facts. And I was in my car picking up someone from the airport, and he answered the phone, and he kept me company on the phone all the way to the airport. And we made a couple of decisions and solutions, and also he works hard for the plugin or for product makers as well, so he represents them as far as hosts are concerned. He represents them trying to get them into enterprise solutions and stuff like that. So he is a real advocate for product makers as well as customers and what they need and desire. So, yeah, it's great to have him on board at Atarim. It's amazing at the Atarim Summit.
It sure is. It's funny. I was scrolling through the list, and the other one, we were talking a little bit about WooCommerce, and that sticks out in my mind right away is David Maynard's chat, the co-founder of PeachPray, about the future of online checkouts and payments. This is an age-old problem in the Woo world that every time we get a Woo discussion, it's what are we doing about checkouts and what are we doing about payment processing? And what complicates it is certain payment processors don't work in certain countries of the world. And that's part of the issue. But nobody has found the secret sauce to streamlining the WooCommerce checkout process at this point in time.
Well, I think Spencer has actually. If you look at what he's doing with WooFunnels, but that's on a per product basis, I suppose.
Yeah.
The problem with checkouts is, we've had this phrase for donkey's years, 3 clicks to buy, haven't we?
Yes.
And it never is, because the credit card companies are becoming more strict on the requirements that they need. So they need postcode, geo, full name, address, even when, people complain to me oftentimes and they say, why do you need my address? It's a digital product. I say, well, I need your address to make sure that you pay, pal, excuse the pun. But, it's difficult. I had a conversation with Stripe, actually, a long 2-hour support call with Stripe, because we're getting a lot of, in our Stripe accounts for our various businesses, we're getting a lot of rejections for no funds. Mm-hmm. And the emails are going automatically out to the customers and saying, your card was rejected because there's insufficient funds. And a lot of people coming, how dare you? I've got loads of money in the bank. What's going on? And I said, well, it got rejected by your credit card company. So could you please just have a word with them? And it was mainly MasterCard and a couple of Visas and everything. And I even had some service providers reject my credit card or my debit card into my bank. And I know there's money in there. It's my business account, so there's definitely money in there. And I think there's a bit of an issue at the moment with credit cards being very, very strict, or the card payment companies being very, very strict on the criteria that they're allowing people to buy stuff online. Particularly, coincidentally, since the 24th of February, which was when Ukraine got invaded. But I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but I don't think it's anything to do with that. But it seems too much of a coincidence. From the 24th of Feb, we've had more rejections on our credit card payments than ever before, and it causes us as a business, say you've got 100 rejections, you've got to make sure the emails went out and said, your service is going to be disrupted because you're not paying. You've got to give them 7 days to change their credit card number. Then when they don't, the service is rejected. And, I didn't get the email. And why have you cut my subscription off and all that kind of stuff? Mm-hmm. So it is a problem. And I think one of the areas that I think PeachPay solve is that they are, and I could be wrong, but I think they're the payment processor, or they've got very good relationships with the payment processors. And also they allow you obviously to, pay to different countries, and there's very political reasons why we can't send money to Pakistan by PayPal and or India. Yep. India, for instance, restricts PayPal payments into accounts because of their very strict banking system. Yep. So, that's an issue. But if you're paying your suppliers, I've got employees, full-time employees in India, and I pay their wages by WisePay, or Wise, as it's now called, because I was paying them through PayPal, and all of a sudden that can't happen for some reason. And I certainly can't pay my Pakistani-based developers by PayPal because PayPal doesn't exist in Pakistan and Turkey and all sorts of places. Argentina, I think, has got some problems with PayPal as well. So, but I think it's more political from that. They're not allowed to deal with those countries from the American perspective. But I could be wrong. I often am.
I think it all started actually the payment processing issues about 6 months ago. There's a website out there called OnlyFans, and you may or may not know the story, but it's kind of.
I am a grown up, so I do know about OnlyFans and the way that they make
money. Yeah. And I'm not using this platform to say we should agree with porn or not agree with porn. That's not my point. But it's funny, the payment processors all allowed OnlyFans to operate. And then they came to OnlyFans and said, wait a minute here, you guys, we've made thousands of dollars off you in percentages. And by the way, we're going to shut you down. So find another payment processor. Yeah. So OnlyFans decided to take the approach and say, oh, we just won't allow any more adult content for the sake argument on our platform. And arguing it was a conduit for sex workers and all that stuff. And my argument would be, well, you made money off all these people when the going was good, and now you have a problem. So what's going on here? And there's so much of that going on when that debacle started that it's the old story. It doesn't suit us politically now, so we'll just cut it off. And
well, I think Stripe then came to an arrangement because, well, let's not forget that OnlyFans isn't just about the porn side. There are. I was talking to a lady the other day that does waxing, and she wants to do a lesson. She wants to teach people how to do waxing properly. Intimate waxing. I'm talking about.
Yep.
So she's setting up an OnlyFans account. So there's nothing. Yes, it might be adult oriented because you've got to be detailed about where you're going and what you're doing. But so that's an OnlyFans. I know a chef that has got an OnlyFans account. I know a fashionista that has got an OnlyFans account. So it's not just about the adult industry side. And I think we have to accept, no matter where we're coming from, if we're of faith or if we're not of faith, whatever, our attitude towards sex workers has got to be one of being open-minded and accepting if they are an individual sex worker, as long as there's no exploitation going on, which we can't really check or double check.
Yep.
Let them earn their 30 grand a month for sending. I mean, there was one girl that was sending farts in jars and earned 30 grand, a month. Because there are people out there that want to buy farts in jars. What can you do, Robert? We've got 7 billion people in the world, and some of them are just weird.
It's so true. Let's move back to the summit for a minute. So we've got all these amazing speakers. The summit kind of takes place over a 3-day period, right?
It does. Yeah.
So when is the summit happening? What's the best way, if somebody wants to see all these great speakers, to get involved and go watch?
Well, it's free if you want to watch it every single day. So you can go on, I think we're doing a pre-launch around about the 24th of April or the 23rd of April. I hope it's no sooner than that because I'll be in the States. I come back from the States on the 20th of April. And we're doing, Steph, myself and Vito are doing a pre-launch webinar on it. So that's around about, I can't remember the date, to be honest, and I'm very bad on that, but 23rd or 24th of April, we're doing the webinar. That'll be all around LinkedIn and live on YouTube and in various Facebook groups as well. So doing a kind of similar thing to what we're doing now, introducing the speakers and introducing the booths and everything, because the great thing about this is that the sponsors have booths and they have swag to give away or prizes to give away. So it's very much like a live. What we wanted to do was produce a virtual summit that felt as though you were really there. So you could visit the booths of the sponsors. The sponsors could get the advantage that they do at various WordCamps or similar summits that they do. For instance, we went to CloudFest last week. We're talking now, it's end of March, isn't it? So we're I was last week, Vito and I went to CloudFest. We met a whole bunch of people in the web space, from hosts to WordPress people to Extendify. I was lucky enough to meet up with Chris and Art from Extendify as well, and Jacoby from Cloudways. I always call him Jacoby, so don't worry about it. He won't be offended. And
so do I. So there you go.
a good few people. Had some drinks, had some networking, had a lovely meeting with the Codable guys that are just awesome, and so we had some good meetups and good chats. And I think, their view, the people that are sponsoring us on the Atarim Summit, is their view is that this is the most real virtual summit that you can come to if you're in the web agency and WordPress arena. Yeah. So they've invested in us. They've trusted the Atarim Summit to promote them, as well as what we're trying to do and trying to help people and really give them the best advice. And also, let's not forget that we've got media partners as well that have signed up to help us promote the event. We've got some great media partners behind us, people that really want to be involved in this summit in some small way. And there's no real benefit to them other than, having their logo on the front of the summit pages and say, yeah, we are a media partner. And you'll see loads of people just tweeting and Facebooking and LinkedIn and all that kind of stuff. We've got a lovely little arrangement with Post Status. Do the Woo, obviously the lovely Bob from Do the Woo, and Copy Flight, WP Founders, Stunning Marketing, Kim Doyle, who's also a speaker, Woof Design, who's that's Rosie Robinson. She's going to speak and really give some good advice on how to grow your business from literally nothing. She's done amazing work. Yeah. Focus WP, obviously, Poodle Press, the lovely Jamie Marston from Poodle Press, who's doing some awesome work on Gutenberg. And obviously people that want to help promote the summit and also help promote their businesses, by being associated with such a big event and a well-run event. Touch wood, let's hope it's going to be as well run as it ever was. But and I love it that Stephanie Hudson and I work together as co-hosts, taking a bit of pressure off Vito, and we're there for the whole 3 or 4 days that it's there or happening. And obviously, because we're quite experienced in the podcasting world, so if something goes wrong, which is part of why Vito wanted us involved, is we don't panic. If a feed goes down or something like that, we can just come back on and say, hi, that feed's gone down. We'll get it back to you as soon as possible, and we can have a little chat and keep people entertained and answer any questions that anybody has, and also moderate the chat as well. So, there's quite a lot to do. And I remember the first time I did it, I think it was a 5-day and then got extended by a day because something went wrong, it's online. So what do you expect? So we extended it another day. So it was complete sort of 12 hours sitting in my chair. And I remember the next week I had to go and see a chiropractor because my back was killing me. But, it's worth it. It's worth it. It's entertaining. It's what we try and do is we try and educate and entertain at the same time, because when you're walking around a WordCamp or when you're walking around a summit or anything like that, you get entertained because you meet people and you network, and that's the whole point of the booths as well. You can go into the GoDaddy booth, you can go into the Weglot booth and meet the people that actually build the business and help you. But you've also got networking lounges that you can go into and meet people in the internet world that we're all involved in. And then when you meet them in real life, you feel as though you've known them forever. And you then become lifelong friends, which is really cool. That's what I like about these. That's what I particularly like about the Atarim Summit. It feels real.
I so agree with you. It's funny. I was joking with somebody the other day. I'm speaking. I'm a media partner, and they said, "How many talks are you going to probably see?" And I said, honestly, I'll probably choose 1 or 2, and I'll spend most of my time in one of the sponsors booths, just networking with people. That's typically what I do. And I know, to give you an idea, the year before the pandemic, WordCamp Toronto, I saw 1 talk in 2 days. I spent most of my time catching up with people. I think that's not that the speakers aren't important, but I think also catching up with people and networking from a business standpoint and sharing ideas is a really good way to go, to be honest.
And I completely agree with you. The whole point about having so many speakers available is that you can pick and choose the ones that you are. Yep. You know, I really want to listen to this person because I'm having a problem with my web design in Elementor, like Imran Sadiq, who is now part of Bertha and does all our Bertha educational videos, is a really well-versed web developer in Elementor. He's also a great salesperson, so he knows how to get clients on board. So he's going to be doing, a talk on how to stand out and get your client proposals ready. And he's also he's very entertaining, in fact. But you've got the point about that you've got an opportunity to upgrade in Atarim Summit, and I really do recommend that. And there's an early bird price going to be announced soon, or if it's not announced now. But certainly you'll be able to subscribe and you get all of those videos and talks forever. You know, as long as a server exists, they will be available to you to watch at your leisure. You don't have to panic and go, oh my God, I can't watch this or whatever. You can just pay a really small amount of investment in your business will go towards providing the servers and providing the services of being able to rewatch and or relearn certain things within the Atarim Summit. And that's one of the benefits of having well-established businesses, you know, Atarim and Bertha and Weglot and GoDaddy behind it. That's what the sponsors help us with. They help us with, and Convisio, who are, our main server, they're providing the servers to us for Atarim, because Tom is really behind the summit and loves actually being involved in it. So, you know, we've chosen the people that we work with very, very carefully so that they're stable and they've got future in them, and we can make sure that these talks are accessible by everyone after the event as well. So, you know, and as I say, that's the whole point. And that's what you don't get from a live event, actually, because you might say, oh, I met someone in WordCamp Boston. What the heck was their name? We were talking about this and they talked about that, and I've missed out on it. And maybe you can get it on WordPress TV for a while, but you know that when you log into the Atarim Summit as a member, you've got full access to everything that has gone on within the summit itself. So you don't have to stick yourself by the screen. We'd like you to come live, of course we would. But if you don't have time to watch everything, or you don't particularly want to watch everything while it's live, that's up to you, and you can just sign up to the membership, which is cool.
And it's funny, what I usually end up doing is with summits, when I sign up for a membership, I'll take the video and I'll translate it to audio and toss it in my podcast player, and then listen to it when I'm out and about too. So, you know,
great idea.
That's something I do. Great idea. I'm not only am I an avid podcaster doing a podcast, I probably listen to 30 podcasts a week too. So,
well, that's why you don't have time to have 5 businesses like I've got.
Thank you. You're funny.
I listen to your podcast. I listen to Matt Medeiros. I was lucky enough to be on his podcast the other day, and I did a WP Minute as well.
Yeah,
I listen to Bob do the Woo, even though I don't use WooCommerce, or I could try and avoid it like the plague. I like Bob's voice. We've got a guy that did a TV show. I'm trying to remember what it was called, but his name was Whispering Bob Harris, and I love the way that Bob kind of talks into the mic and is a bit quiet on that side, but also very informative as well and educational. That's the key, isn't it? And amusing. Yeah.
The other thing I have to commend your team for is what your group did that's different from many other groups. And I believe Post Status has done the same thing for some of their stuff. You've actually offered to pay your speakers an honorarium, which I thought was a really interesting idea. And one of the things I said, and I'll put it out there and challenge anybody else who's involved, is donate it to Big Orange Heart. and be done with it. Like I think it's just great to be involved, and there's an option if you say, I really don't want to take in this from a profit donated. And as far as I'm concerned, Big Orange Heart is a big help to many of us in the WordPress space.
And you're not wrong. Dan has worked and his team. I was when I had Elegant Marketplace, I donated to them on a regular basis. I haven't done for a while. I think I gave them a few $100s about 6 months ago or something like that. But it's just something that you tend to do as and when you get an opportunity, when you get reminded. And that's the problem, isn't it? We have to be reminded that there are people out there that are struggling day to day with their mental health, and it's a subject that interests me because I think depression wasn't acknowledged as an illness until literally 10 years ago, maybe 15. But there are a lot of people that have bouts of depression. There are a lot of people that, and there's it's a trigger word as well, but there's a lot of people out there that get absolutely stressed out about what other people might think. Well, where's the issue there? Why are you stressed out about that? And part of the reason I actually started my coaching business, and I'm very selective about who I take on as well. I take on, maybe I've got 3 coaching clients at the moment. I don't take on any more than 3 because there's pressure on me then, so I try and keep the stress out of my life as well. But what Big Orange Heart can do for people within our community, the WordPress community, is give them a shoulder to cry on. And that helps immensely. There is no cure for depression, but what there is there are places to go. And I think there's thousands of hours that they give to people for free. And they've got some very big sponsors, but it takes an awful lot of money to run something like Big Orange Heart. So I think your suggestion is great. However, there are some people that are presenting that are living in areas where a couple of $100 is a lot of money.
Yeah.
And that will help them progress as well. And I think it's right that I've always thought it was right that if you have a speaker, and let's face it, $200 is kind of a just a gesture. It's not a great amount of money, but it also gives you an opportunity to say, here's $200, for your time that you're spending putting this together. Go and buy yourself a nice dinner or something or whatever, or buy yourself a great T-shirt or buy some swag, whatever. But it's also that, there's an alternative. You either get a chance within your speaking opportunity to promote your own business or your own offering, if it's appropriate, or you get the $200. And if you want to donate the $200, do it. Donate it to any cause. But if you want to donate it to Big Orange Heart, that's a great suggestion. But it's not. It's like us. We have problems with. I'm on another podcast, and you're on a podcast, and you want people to come onto your podcast, and some people need rewarding for that. But then there's budget constraints. There's the fact that you're running the podcast, the fact that you want to promote people as well. So is that the payment? And I think it was Joe Casabona that mentioned the fact that it was a bit cheeky for people not to be paid to appear on a summit, which obviously sponsors are involved and there's money involved and whatever. Yeah. But it's actually very expensive to run a summit. And also to keep it going forever and a day, because the offer, as I said, the upgrade offer is you get it forever, as long as we're alive, I suppose. But it's just so there are difficulties there. But also with podcasters, should they pay for their guests? It's a tough one, isn't it?
Yeah, it sure is. What I will say is, and you're on a regular podcast with Jonathan Denwood, right? And
yeah,
I'm on a podcast, and I've been on other podcasts. We've both been on WP Builds This Week in WordPress with Nathan, and It's funny.
Yeah, I can't stand that fella. I'm joking. He's just probably one of the best podcasters out there, isn't he?
Yeah,
Nathan?
and actually, it's funny. I just had him and Bob Dunn on with me that I released a couple of days ago, and we talked about. We had so much fun together. I should tell you, Andrew. It was.
I know. I listened to it. Don't worry. I did listen to it. I gave you the courtesy of listening to it before I came on here. But it's I love Nathan's attitude. It's just. He's quietly professional.
He is.
You wouldn't ever guess. Do you know what I mean? It's just he's just brilliant at what he does. He really is. It's my favorite Monday podcast.
I start my work week off because that's at 9 a.m. Eastern time. The show I did with Nathan a couple of weeks ago was 10 just because of the time zone shift. And that's how I start my business week off every Monday. I think you and I were saying hello to each other in the chat room recently. So
exactly, yeah.
But
I was lucky enough to be on it the other day. Actually, I've been on it a couple of times, and I think there are some podcasts that are a bit dry, aren't there? And also the podcasts that are just the person or the podcaster. They can be very dry because it's their opinion and maybe they're doing some news and stuff like that. But I think this is where Matt has got it. Matt Medeiros has got it pretty well sussed. I mean, he's another excellent podcaster, as are you. I listen to your podcast regularly.
Thank you.
And just, there's some life there. There's some liveliness. There's a bit of humor. There's because a lot of podcasts can just end up being very dry. And you think, it's half an hour I'm not going to get back, but never mind,
As a rule, I try and keep solo shows to 5 or 6 minutes, a quick tip and out the door for exactly that reason. And it was funny, what I was going to say to you, we're talking about guests, and it's worth mentioning is I find the more consistent you are with your podcast, the easier it is to get people on. I mean, the show that you do with Jonathan, you people have no problems getting people on your roundtable show at all. And
we do actually, but it is because the roundtable show, the Friday roundtable show, which I'm not on regularly anymore, because I'm busy on a Friday. I said to Jonathan, Friday's my golf day, and it's just the wrong time for me on a Friday. So I've now transitioned to the Thursday co-hosting, and we're just interviewing one person. But I was on the Friday podcast last week, actually, because I was messaged and said, look, we're one guest short, so you got to come on. So I did. And it was a real laugh. But it's sometimes it's not suitable for work. There's a bit of swearing that goes on, which I think is great. It's good fun. But also, some of the content is not some of the content that I would particularly be interested in the WordPress space, although it has relevancy because it's WordPress and tech. So I don't know about it enough. I don't know enough about it to be able to be a valued panel member. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah, I do.
I can't really comment on the American side of the business because I'm UK based, and I can't really comment on the Amazons of this world or the Facebooks of this world because I feel that they've given us all an opportunity to watch Netflix, to connect with people, to have fantastic Facebook groups. I tend not to post too much on my own Facebook page that's personal. I might put up the odd egg and bacon fries post or, tease my twin brother that I'm playing golf at Wentworth or something, because he just always reacts. Because he's a low handicap golfer, and he just says, "Why are you playing?" And he can't even play golf, and all that kind of stuff. But I use Facebook for business, and I love it. And whatever the controversy is around privacy or anything, I find that we've got phones. Everyone knows what we're doing. Do you know what I mean? So
it's so true. I mean, if you want to be private, as I always say to people, talk to Mr. Elon Musk, get on a rocket, go to the moon. Yeah. And then when you get to the moon, build yourself a bubble and don't talk to anybody ever again. And
exactly.
Because you walk
pretty much what I'm doing this week because I'm self-isolating. I've got a COVID test on Monday morning before my USA trip. and I'm paranoid about getting COVID. So I've just the golfing I accepted because it was outside and we don't touch each other. And they came up to shake my hands. I went, nope, there's no, and then gelled every other hole. But it's important for me to go to America. I've got lots of appointments, and I really want to, I want to visit my friends and my colleagues and stuff. So I'm self-isolating this week until at least Monday, when hopefully my COVID test will provide a negative result.
And then they will actually let you into the US of A.
Exactly. I'll be allowed into the US of A. I mean, the thing is with the UK now, you don't need any of that. You just come in, So I think that will be the stage that we're at. But the pandemic has helped people like you. Podcasts have become very, very popular during the pandemic and the lockdowns and everything, because people just couldn't go out, so they had to do something else other than watch a film on Netflix twice a night. But it's a difficult situation. COVID exists. There are some people that deny that it does. It's very real. People get very ill with it. So we have to be careful. It's as simple as that. And I would be very disappointed if I come out positive on Monday morning, because it means that all the arrangements I've made, the 7 meetings I've got over the 15-day period, plus all the different flights that I've arranged, it would be really quite annoying if I didn't test positive, So I'm hoping against hope. But there you go.
Anyway, Andrew, thanks for jumping on and talking about the summit today. Where can people go to register for the Atarim Summit, and where can people get a hold of you if they have any questions?
Well, the most important thing is atarim.io, which is atarim.io/summit, which is SUMMIT. Go there, just register for attendance there. And as I say, it's free for everybody throughout the 3 or 4 days that it's on. And if you want to upgrade, you can. To find me, it's very easy. I'm all over the place, but you can get me at Arnie Palmer on Twitter. And obviously you can go to my own plugin and web design website, wppluginsplus.com, and see what we're up to, and maybe even buy a plugin or two. How's that?
And be sure when you talk to Andrew to ask him about his golf game. He's never at a loss for words on that one.
Listen, I won today, so I'm quite happy. I actually won and walked away with some cash, which is good.
Yeah.
Always good.
Thanks, Andrew. Thanks for joining me. Have a great day.
Thank you, sir. Thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.
A pleasure. This episode of the SDM Show is sponsored by Stunning Digital Marketing, the agency to handle all your WordPress website security needs. Go on over to stunningdigitalmarketing.com and find out how we can help you secure your website so you no longer have an issue with backups, being hacked, or your website being compromised. That's stunningdigitalmarketing.com.
A very special thank you to Andrew for joining me on this edition of the SDM Show. I hope you join us at the Atraim Web Agency Summit. Thank you for listening to this edition of the SDM Show. The SDM Show is brought to you by Rob Cairns and Stunning Digital Marketing. For more information about Rob Cairns and Stunning Digital Marketing, go to stunningdigitalmarketing.info. From here, you can connect to us on social media, go to our website, and even go to the podcast to subscribe. This podcast is dedicated to my late father, Bruce Cairns. Dad, I miss you very much. Keep your feet on the ground. Keep reaching for the stars. Make your business succeed.